With that, we are kicking off the show with the question we should probably all ask ourselves. Are you happy? Well, maybe your happiness has been hijacked. Well, our first guest has some advice on how to check in with ourselves. Welcome, Christina, to the show.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. You are author of Choosing Greatness. I'm so intrigued to learn about the book. But first, tell us more about yourself.
Sure. I live here in Colorado and run a company called Curtis Leadership Consulting, and my background's in organizational psychology and neuro leadership, and I'm a master coach. That's me.
That's wonderful. Well, I always say, once you have a book written, there's definitely a lot that's gone into that book. There's a lot of experiences that you've had.
A lot of time, Claudia.
A lot of time, too. That is why I've never written a book. So let's talk about this, because I feel that we don't take the time to stop and say, are we truly happy? But are we really, though? So with that, how is our happiness in jeopardy? How do we know?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I see it all over the place where people have this sense that they're not living up to their true potential. That feeling of almost a low buzz, great anxiety that can show up in the morning or in the evening, and it gets louder as Sunday comes and you're about to start your week.
What is it about Sundays?
Totally, yes. Or
So
you're just
true.
comparing yourself to others and feeling a little out of place and where you thought you would be at this point in your life.
I think so, more than ever, though. I think in today's world, and in all this technology available, we're able to peek into everybody else's life. It's really hard on us. Now, has your happiness ever been taken away from you, or did you find yourself in that position?
Yeah, sure have. And happiness, it's interesting. It's a state you move in and out of. None of us feel it all the time. The question is, are we feeling it? Are we moving into that space by using the behaviors and the energy and the thoughts that will transition us there rather than eroding our happiness? And I will say, a few years ago, we had a situation that did take my family's happiness away. We actually were pulling into my kids' school parking lot. Both kids were in the back seat, and the passenger door flew open, and a man who was armed jumped into our car.
Oh my goodness.
Jumped into our car, and we had a 8-minute tumultuous event where we were trying to get him out of the vehicle, and it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying, and it was actually my son in the back seat who de-escalated it, and who just quietly whispered and said, "Mom, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?" And I got really clear that I was in control here and that I needed to figure out how to save them. We got lucky. He did exit the vehicle. I think he was so taken aback by this calm that suddenly showed up in my car that I was channeling from my kids. To the point where I asked him to grab my phone so we could put a cartoon on, SpongeBob SquarePants, Kung Fu Panda. I was like, let's distract my kids while you and I negotiate what's about to happen and how we're going to get through this. But what happened after he left the car was just as impactful as when he was in it, because we had this neurological residue of fear. We would brush our teeth together. We would walk through the house together. We were anxious. Going to school or work was a big thing. And I sat my husband down and just said, hey, I want to choose something else. I don't want to choose this version of reality for our family. I want to choose happiness. And we consciously thought through, what thoughts do we want to be reinforcing? What energy do we want to be infusing in the house? What behaviors do we want to be living every morning from when we wake up till when we go to bed to create the reality we want? And it worked.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh, Christina, first of all, I can't believe that happened to you as a mother with your kids. As a mother of 2 girls, I don't know what I would have done in that moment, but I will say this, kudos for finding the best way to overcome that. Especially when you've got 2 little people there that went through that and turning it into another kind of situation to kind of take away from what it really was and try to see it in another way. I think that's remarkable what you have done with that. Something I really want to ask you is, you talk about responding versus reacting. Really intrigued about this.
Yeah, well, we operate on autopilot 42% of the day. 42% of the day, we are just going through with our habits and putting in the coordinates and behaviors of what we've done before, hoping for a different outcome. Expecting to see something new in our lives, expecting change, expecting that full potential that we talk about. And I think it's really important to not just react when you wake up and go through the day from one thing to the next, but pause, elbow your way into the moments to say, how do I need to show up? what energy do I need to produce? What thoughts do I need to have? That not self-doubt, but how can I channel my inner confidence? How can I cultivate confidence regardless of what my DNA is doing in order to actually respond in a way that will drive the greatest outcome for me and for my family and for my business. And
of course.
When I, in the book, interview people like Richard Branson or Javier Rodriguez, the CEO of DaVita, or Lara American, the founder of Larabar, it's all around how do you disrupt the natural habitual patterns we have going that are actually eroding our relationships and results without us even thinking about it.
Right.
Because it's automatic.
Yeah, how to break away from that. Well, love the discussion this morning. I'm super excited to read the book.
Yes.
And thank you for being here, by the way, and sharing your story.
Thank
if
you.
you want to learn more, I recommend you get this book, of course. Thank you, Christina. If you would like a copy of it, Choosing Greatness, you can find it on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble. You can also learn more about Christina by checking out her website, curtisleadership.com.